Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive, talking cars. We're going to talk how reliable Chrysler cars are this morning. How you doing, Bernie?
Doing pretty well.
So, how reliable are Chryslers?
Well, overall, I don't really recommend them. You can often pick up a Chrysler car for pretty cheap for a used one, but there's a lot of issues. From Chrysler Pacificas with rusting frame cradles to Sebrings with oil sludging engines. So there's just a lot of issues with a variety of Chrysler cars that I would just avoid. But we can talk a little more in depth about them.
All right. Well, let's start with the Pacifica. What's going on with this vehicle?
So Chrysler just re-released the Pacifica in 2016, so we won't talk about those because, to be honest, I've never looked at one, and our experience comes when the car gets a few years old. So look at the older Pacificas, 2004 to 2009. I mean, a very nice car when it was brought out, but a lot of problems with these cars: oil leaks, fluid leaks. Rusted engine cradles are a big issue. I've actually never seen one, but I think we're in the West Coast in Vancouver. There's not a lot of road salt, but I'd say back east, it's a very common problem on this vehicle. Very expensive to repair because the engine could actually drop out of the vehicle, or so it needs to be fixed. There's a lot of electrical issues with the vehicles. My overall impression of the Pacifica, it's a really nice vehicle, and it was created when Mercedes owned Chrysler, and it was a really ill-fated marriage. It's just a bad combination of sort of a lower-end car manufacturer with a high-end car manufacturer, and they tried to upscale the Pacifica, but they did it on the cheap, and that's really the impression I get of the car, because things just break and wear out way too fast. Like if it was a Mercedes, you wouldn't have many of these problems, if any at all.
All right. So what about the Sebring?
Oh, there's another lemon. I have to say that the convertibles, when they came out, they were a really nice car. But the one engine in the Sebring that's really problematic, the 2.7 liter V6, is, it was a nice engine, runs well, but prone to oil sludging. This is an engine, if you went 100 kilometers over the 5,000 kilometer oil change interval, you're asking for problems. Of course, a lot of people don't know that, and people get lazy, they don't change their oil, and there's just a number of problems with the engine's oil sludging and complete engine failures. But even those people who would maintain the engine well, the water pump is located inside the engine. It's driven by the timing chain. It's not the only vehicle out there that has that, but when the water pump starts leaking, it costs a lot of money to fix. Like it's well over $1,000, $1,500. You have to take the timing chain cover off to get it out. So it's not really a smart design for longevity of repair. Knock on wood, I own a 2001 Subaru Outback with a 6-cylinder. It's got an internal water pump. I've got almost close to 300,000 kilometers. The water pump's never been replaced. I say knock on wood because it'll go sooner or later, but that's a reliable system. The Sebring wasn't so reliable. Other things with some Chrysler products, Sebring's not the only one. The batteries are located under the fender. They're hard to get at, so it costs a little more money to fix. Again, that's not the only car that has a hard to get at battery, but for an average American car, people have an expectation things are going to be simpler and a little less expensive to fix. And Sebring is definitely not one of those vehicles.
All right, that brings us to maybe the more luxurious 300 series. See quite a few of these around. How are they?
Again, they're not the most reliable, but I think they're a step up from the Sebring and the Pacifica. They got kind of a unique styling that people like, but again, we don't work on a lot of them. That the ones we have worked on have been pretty reliable. I mean, a few front end steering issues, but overall the cars have been pretty good.
All right, so we could talk about the Crossfire. It's a pretty unique vehicle. How are they?
I'd say these are pretty decent. They're not very common. This is actually, if you look at it, this vehicle is actually based on a Mercedes. It's similar to an SLK 320, and uses the same engine, same drivetrain. So, the reliability is pretty much the same, which they're a pretty good car. So yeah, they're good. The only issue I've seen, and I actually haven't seen personally, but just doing a little research, is the rear windows apparently fall out of these cars. So that seems to be the major complaint, but otherwise a little more reliable. I got to thinking too, you own a Crossfire, where do you take it to get service? Well, you could go to the dealer, but this car is really more like a Mercedes than a Chrysler. And a lot of times, I think you're best to seek out a good independent auto repair shop. Someone who can, a shop that's going to look for the best source for parts. Because if you buy things from the dealer, they're often way overpriced. I've seen this with so many of these marriages between different car companies, Ford and Mazda, Chrysler, Mercedes. Often, if you go to like a Mercedes dealer, you can get the parts for a lot cheaper than you can actually buy them from the Chrysler dealer. So just a little tip, if you own one of these cars, not saying, of course we want your business, but find a good independent shop that can take care of it, because they can look around for better options than the dealership. And quite frankly, a lot of dealers don't really know how to fix these things. Even the Jeep diesels, their level of expertise is not as high as some other shops.
So what about some of the older vehicles that are going to be on the used market, like the Intrepid or the Neon?
Definitely vehicles I wouldn't recommend. The Intrepid had a lot of issues with, coolant leaks, steering parts wearing out, electrical issues. They weren't fantastic vehicles. Neons, I mean, there used to be a lot of those cars on the road, and we rarely ever see one. We had a client a couple months ago with one. We did a bunch of work on it. The car's, still chugging along pretty good, but they're certainly they're the kind of car they lose their value so much by the time they need some sort of major repair. It's better just to scrap the car than fix it. With PT Cruiser though, that's another, it's a little flashier of a car. That's basically based on a Neon. So, again, same sort of level of problems. But if you have a PT Cruiser convertible, maybe you might want to fix that because it's a little more special of a car. But yeah, those are a couple of vehicles I'd avoid.
So overall, Chrysler's not really doing all that great of a job.
No, and it kind of makes me sad to say so, because I'm kind of a Mopar guy at heart. My first car was a '69 Dodge Dart 340. I had a lot of friends who had, fast, Chrysler products way back, from the late '60s, early '70s. I mean, they were awesome cars, pretty reliable and fast and fun and good-looking cars. Yeah, and even the Dodge Slant 6 was a super reliable vehicle. I've owned Dodge vans with 318s. They're like bulletproof. Again, not fantastic performance, but good, well-built, reliable cars. So I think unfortunately, like, Chrysler cars have just really gone downhill. I think they've really struggled to find who they are. That they merged with Mercedes, and that's gone now. Fiat owns them, I mean, in their styling department and marketing department, they've done some pretty amazing things, but the vehicles are really not great.
So there you go. If you have a Chrysler vehicle in Vancouver, the guys to see are Pawlik Automotive. They might not think the reliability is that great, but they'll be doing a great job fixing them.
Very happy to fix them.
These are the guys to see. They fix lots of them. You can call them at 604-327-712 to book your appointment, or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com. Thanks a lot, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.